Well, good morning, everyone. It is a sunny morning in the Redwoods, which definitely has an impact on the photographic potential. So I'm taking today as an opportunity to scout around a little bit. There is a photo that I would love to shoot, but it's going to rely on having overcast skies. So we'll see what happens a little later today. I'm actually parked pretty close to the trailhead for that one. So if the fog rolls in the afternoon, I can always grab my camera, go over there and see what I can set up as far as the composition. But I'm on a trail right now that I went on a little bit yesterday, just before the rain started to happen. And I think I've been on this one before when I went on a trip here with my wife many years ago, but it doesn't seem super familiar, so it may have been a different one. But I'm definitely enjoying the calm quiet of the forest, and curious what I'm going to find as I keep going on this trail. Well, it is now midday, and I put a lot of miles in today. I don't know exactly, but I guess maybe 6 miles so far. And currently on another trail right now. And the skies are completely blue, no clouds up there. So that makes photography a little bit challenging, just because the light's so very harsh. But I'm taking this as an opportunity to cover a lot of ground, and do some scouting, and hit some trails I have not hiked before. Try to figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of the day. I know at some point I'm going to just be completely worn out. And to be perfectly honest, I thought of going back to camp, hopping in my kayak, and paddling around the river sounds pretty nice right now. I didn't even check the weather for today, or even the next few days or so. I figure I'll just roll with it. It is absolutely beautiful here in the Redwoods. Doing a little forest bathing and among the big trees. Can't go wrong. Well, this is definitely a lot different from when I came here last year. When I was here last year, it was raining pretty much every single day, and I didn't really have any fog, but I just had really wet conditions. And it made for some decent photos, but it was definitely a lot of work. But now, there's almost no cloud in the sky. Sunny, it's actually been on the warm side. And that makes it difficult when photographing the Redwoods. So I think the weather forecast is going to be very much like this for the next several days or so. And hopefully there'll be some morning fog. That'd be great. But I think this might be a trip where I just spend a lot of time exploring and figuring out what it is that I really want to pursue on future trips out here, in terms of getting to know the layout and what sort of subjects look really good. But definitely enjoying going for a paddle here on the river. Beautiful day, ginormous trees on the side of the river, and really refreshing water. It's been a long day, that's for sure. Well, good morning, everyone. It is a lovely overcast day here. And initially, I was hiking a different trail. I had my 8x10 kit with me because there's this one scene I tried to photograph a couple years ago, and I just wasn't quite happy with the results. So I figured I'd make use of these overcast skies, which is all that scene really needs. But I couldn't find it. It was really weird. I had a pretty good feeling for where it was on the trail, and I know for a fact I walked past it twice, but maybe I'll find it a little later on at some point. But now I'm on a different trail. I have my lightweight scouting pack. I figure I'll do a little wandering. Now later today, there's a chance that these clouds might burn off. And if that's the case, I have two different possibilities to photograph. But until then, I'm gonna cover some ground, do a little wandering, and see if anything catches my eye. Well, the sun is threatening to peek out through the fog right now, and hope the fog sticks around for a while. The overcast skies make it a lot easier to scout out subjects, and if I find something, it's definitely better to shoot it under these conditions. But I gotta say that this is a difficult environment for me to work in, just because I'm very much accustomed to the sort of light and the subjects in the desert. And you go to these forests and everything's just so very chaotic. And makes me work pretty hard. So yesterday, I ended up putting in 36,000 steps and didn't find any subjects. But I was definitely very busy on my feet. I have a tendency to just wander and walk until I find things that are of interest. So I'm hoping the clouds stick around for a little while longer. I do have a few subjects in mind. And if the clouds clear out, I have two shots in particular this afternoon that could be decent, but we'll see on that. I'm gonna keep wandering, probably head back to the area where I was this morning to see if I can find that one scene. This is bugging me. This is bugging me that I cannot find that subject I shot 2 years ago. I don't think it's changed much. Everything looks the same after a while. So I'm gonna head over there and see if I can find those trees again. I returned to the trail and was successful in finding the scene. Though by the time I found it, the clouds had broken, and the light on the forest floor was harsh. I made a note of the location, then went back to camp for lunch. My plan that evening was to return to the riverbank and see about photographing a large boulder along the river's edge. This scene didn't require clouds, and the composition was rather straightforward. All I needed for this photo was calm wind for a clean reflection. But that proved more difficult than I originally thought. Well, I managed to expose a single sheet of Provia 100F and then a single sheet of Ektar 100 on the scene you see back behind me here. And this is an area I found as I was just wandering along the river here. It's right next to the campground. But the tricky part's been the wind, because I want to have a really nice reflection of the big rock there in the water. And a little bit of wind just disturbs that. So I had a couple breaks, 2-second exposure for Provia, and then 8 seconds for Ectar. So pretty happy with that. So get things packed up. I'm gonna head back to camp, and I'm not gonna grab dinner because I already had dinner, but maybe I'll grab a snack. But definitely feels good to expose some film today. Well, good morning, everyone. I thought I had a plan today. There was this scene with this pretty cool looking maple, and it was set against some ferns and some redwoods in the background. And I found it the other day. It was a little bit later in the afternoon, and I figured all I need for that is overcast skies. And right now there are indeed overcast skies. So I hiked over to that area, brought my camera with me, and instantly realized that the scene looked very different. And now I didn't realize this. I'm still not 100% sure what was happening, but I suspect the maple leaves track the sun. And so in the morning, they were at a different angle than they would be in the afternoon. And so because the leaves are at a different angle, they weren't aligned so that they were being backlit and facing the camera really nicely. So the scene did not look very good. I mean, it looked beautiful, but just it wasn't what it was when I saw it the other day. So I didn't realize that the leaves track the sun, but I'm still not 100% sure, but that's what it certainly seemed like when I was looking at the scouting photos versus looking at the tree in person. But now I'm taking a little trail I've never been on before, and it's taking a little bit of time to further acclimate myself with the area. And I have no clue if I'll be able to find any compositions here. There's no fog, but if we do get some sunny skies more towards the afternoon or evening, there is a scene I'd like to photograph, which is a looking straight up sort of photo of the redwoods. So, but we'll see on that. Till then, I'm gonna keep wandering. So as I'm wandering through the redwood forest here, I figured I'd talk a little bit about the experience of the trip so far. So this is my 5th day on the trip, and I've photographed a total of 3 scenes, which is not bad. If I had a little bit more under my belt, I'd be a little happier about that. But the conditions have been quite interesting. When you consider that it rained pretty much every single day when I came here on my previous trip back in 2019, and then this trip feels a bit more like a summer trip in terms of the weather. There's lots of days with blue sky. There's been some moments of fog, but not when I've had my camera with me. And it's also really crowded. Now, I didn't realize this in advance, but when I made my reservations for the campground 6 months ago, I didn't realize that this was Memorial Day weekend, so everything's crowded, everything's packed. And once you're on the trails, you don't see anyone. Campgrounds are packed, but that's no real surprise. But some of the main areas that are more accessible, you can't really have parking in those areas. And there's also some road construction as well. But there's still tons of potential here. And since this is only my 2nd photography trip to the Redwoods, taking a lot of time to hit a lot of trails, look for interesting subjects, and get a better feeling for how the light here works. I've definitely come to appreciate the overcast skies. A little fog would be nice too. But once you get back into some of these forests, especially on trails that aren't used as often, it's just so quiet. Just after filming this video, sunlight broke through the clouds and the harsh light returned. I took this as an opportunity to explore several other trails, then eventually returned to camp for the evening.
Another factor on this year's trip was the late appearance of the rhododendron bloom. Over the past several days, I've only seen a handful of these gorgeous pink flowers. And although I planned my trip to coincide with the bloom, the irresistible combination of redwoods, rhododendron, and fog has proven elusive. But that's not such a bad thing. It makes a perfect excuse for a return visit.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's another bright and sunny day. No clouds in the sky, so may not be any photography happening today. I was hoping there might be some fog in the morning in some of the coastal areas, but there really wasn't any. I did end up taking a photo yesterday. It was a shot looking up at the tree canopy using color negative film, and I don't have high hopes for it, but it was definitely an experimental sort of photo. But I think one of the main challenges for me going on these trips, and especially when going to a new location like this, is the feeling of being productive. Because ideally, I want to feel productive every single day, which usually means either finding an interesting subject to photograph or perhaps photographing a subject. But when you have conditions that are not as ideal for photography, it really makes things a bit more difficult. But that all is the process of getting to know a location. It's also one of the reasons why I returned to Zion so many times, or Death Valley so many times. Because after a while, you really get to know that location. You get to know what to expect, and you come up with plans on how to stay productive. But now, since I don't really have any photos in mind, I'm just going on a little wander here through the woods, and hope to get to better know this location, so perhaps on future years I'll have a little more productive trips up here. I definitely look forward to getting to know even more about this area and learn everything about the plants and the animals and the weather and everything else. But we'll see what I can find today.
Of the 6 days I spent in the Redwoods, only one of those days saw favorable conditions, or at least that's how it seemed. The truth is, those other 5 days are filled with enormous potential. I just lacked the experience to recognize it. That's the importance of truly getting to know a new location. In total, I exposed 12 sheets of film on 5 different subjects, yielding only one photograph I'm truly satisfied with. It's difficult to measure success by these numbers alone. It's the other numbers that make a difference. The miles hiked, the trails explored, and the knowledge gained by spending nearly a week in a new environment. As I'm sure you might have guessed, that photo I shot along the river's edge didn't turn out as I'd hoped. Although I liked the composition, the light is flat and the wind never did calm down. I hate to say it, but the scouting photo I took on my iPhone looks better. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you around on my next trip.
If you enjoy this ad-free and clickbait-free content and want to help me live my dream, a voluntary contribution of just $24 a year helps keep my gas tank full and my film freezer stocked. For more information on how to support me and my work, please visit the donation section of my website at benhorn.com/donate. I also have prints in my portfolio box set available on my website. You can find a direct link down below in the show notes. Thanks in advance for your support.